All right, we're going to call this meeting to order. We're going to start today's meeting with an invocation from Chaplain Billy Berry with the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office. Everyone please rise.
Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love. We thank you for your mercy. And God, we ask for a special blessing upon the Board of Commissioners. God, a blessing of wisdom, that as they do their duty, God, that you would instruct them and lead them and guide them. And God, we pray for this county. God, that your love and your mercy will flow through this county. And God, these coming months, that there will be a peace that will flow. And God, we thank you for all that you've done for this county and all that you're going to do. And we give you the praise and glory. Amen.
Amen. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Start tonight's meeting by looking over our agenda. Are there any changes or amendments? Commissioner Arts?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add one item under awards and presentations.
Okay. Is that item from Bruce Ashley?
No.
Okay, there's going to be an item added by Mr. Bruce Ashley under awards and presentations also.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add a item underneath my time, please.
Is that the item that we
add on? That's right. That's
okay.
The add-on that you.
And we'll add the item under your items that you was provided at the start of the meeting. Any other changes?
Motion to approve with noted changes. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to our first public hearing of the evening, we have a request for board approval to conduct a public hearing and adopt the proposed ordinance creating the Community Center Advisory Group. County Attorney Encinosa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item is requesting board to conduct your public hearing and approve the ordinance that's going to create the Community Center Advisory Group. As has been discussed with the board previously, this is an 11-person board who's going to basically help county and the county staff provide guidance regarding the development of the community center site and future programming there. I would note that the proposed appointees, as previously discussed with the board, is outlined in there. However, Commissioner Arts has requested some changes to the terms. And do you want me to run through them, or would you like to run through them, Commissioner Arts?
I'm happy to.
Okay. I'll let Commissioner Arts run through her proposed changes, which I believe they're fine with me. It would just require, if you want to incorporate these changes, a motion to approve the ordinance after the public hearing with the changes incorporated, and I can make the changes and get the ordinance back.
I'll make that motion now. So moved.
Second.
Was it with the changes?
Yes, with the change.
Okay. When I looked at what the initial terms were, I thought there were some other entities that maybe it made more sense to have on a one-year basis in particular, or in the case of the Y, on a 4-year basis to start off with. I also, where I put the 3 asterisks, thought that those 3 appointments may be best to keep annual. All of these, after the initial term of 1, 2, 3, or 4 years, will become 4-year appointments. That will be very difficult for a high school student, and it doesn't seem real fair to Sopchoppy and St. Mark's if they're alternating to alternate every 4 years. I think switching back and forth annually will keep them more informed and involved. And with the faith entities, since we don't have a faith alliance, I'm envisioning that we'll have, kind of a rotation of churches. So that was why I proposed that they not only start off with an initial 1-year term, but then stay on an annual appointment. And then the others were just, for example, the fundraising person. I thought if we have a good fundraiser and grants person, we really don't want to lose them after a year. It makes sense to have them on board for 3 years before their term's up. Are there any questions about the alternate I'm proposing? Does it seem okay?
Wakulla WCS is Wakulla County Seniors?
No, schools. Wakulla County Schools. The senior center director is specified, and that's not changed.
Just want to make sure. Okay.
So Wakulla County Schools goes from a 1-year initial term to 2 years, and then it becomes a 4-year appointment. thank you for making the motion. I'll second it if nobody's seconded, or
We already did.
we did.
Any further discussion? All in favor, any citizen input? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Thank you. Up next on our public hearings this evening is we have request board approval to conduct the public hearing and adopt the proposed ordinance amending section 2-4 and 6-1 of the Land Development Code pertaining to accessory uses. Louis Cerna, Planning and Community Development Director.
Yes. Good evening, Commissioners. This is a request to amend sections 2.4 and 6.1 of the Land Development Code pertaining to accessory uses. The board gave direction for these sections to be changed in July of last year. The amendment, which is included as your attachment 2, would allow accessory uses such as docks, barns, sheds, pools, and guest cottages on vacant parcels as long as they are contiguous to a parcel that contains a primary use such as a home and subject to completion of a unity of title. The amendment also allows marine uses such as docks, piers, boardwalks, and boat ramps on vacant parcels. These would not be subject to being adjacent to a primary use or the unity of title. The Planning Commission has reviewed this ordinance and voted on March 12th unanimously to recommend approval, and staff is recommending approval of this
Make a motion
item
to
as well.
conduct Final public hearing and vote to adopt the proposed ordinance amending section 2.4 and 6.1 of the Land Development Code pertaining to accessory uses based upon the recognition of the Planning Commission and the findings of facts including the law made by the board and any evidence submitted in the hearing hereon.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any citizens to be heard, Jessica? Any further discussion from the board? Commissioner Arntz?
Yeah, initially, I know we've talked about this before, and the way it's set up so that for a guest cottage or something like a shed to be built on a contiguous property with the unity of title, I think that's fine. That seems very reasonable. The marine uses, the more I've thought about it, is really giving me concerns. And even though it says that an owner of a property can build a boat ramp, that's for their use. The owner of the property could be a company and could let all of its employees come and use the boat ramp whenever they want. Could be a fraternity, could be any entity like that. And along our beautiful rivers, where we have some of our most valuable real estate, I think the people who live on those properties are expecting that their neighbor will be another homeowner, and I think it would really be unfortunate if some of what I just described started happening along some of these lots. And then I don't know, it could even get to be something where people start camping or sleeping in their vehicles so they can be there over the weekend, and trying to enforce that kind of stuff just gets really complicated, and then we're competing with our own boat parks and campgrounds and other things. So I'm very concerned about for the homeowner. So in trying to think about what the solutions might be, one would be to make it similar to the other one where it would be you have to have a house on the neighboring property. No, so you don't have to, all you have to do is own the lot and you can put a boat ramp on it. The other thing might be, we talked about if someone's planning to build a house in the future, a retirement home or whatever, and submit a site plan, that they could maybe get permission to build the boat ramp in advance. Some other things we talked about, and maybe Louis has a proposal, is something that would protect the neighboring homeowners by limiting how close it could be to a neighboring homeowner, or what size lot you could do it, because potentially people will be finding the smallest, cheapest lots they can find so they can put a boat ramp on it that'll become Party City every weekend. Potentially. So, Louis, did you have some ideas?
Well, your concerns that you expressed are correct. These things potentially could occur on these lots. Just in looking at it, I looked at some of the lots along the river, and I think if you establish perhaps a minimum lot size of 1 acre, anything smaller than an acre, this cannot be done on, and then said that the dock or whatever the marine use would have to be a certain distance, perhaps 50 feet from the adjacent lot line, that might help address those concerns.
That kind of defeats the whole purpose of me wanting to do this. I wouldn't support that. My thought was somebody owned a lot, say in Jack Langston's camp on the river, and they wanted to put a dock there to go fishing on the weekends. They should be allowed to do that. I mean, I understand what you're saying, that those are valid concerns, but I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and try to cover every single contingency of it. I'm surely there's some other mechanism to deal with somebody, a fraternity buying a lot and partying. I mean, we got notice ordinances, we got tons of ordinances to deal with it. I mean, technically, I agree, you're correct, but I really don't think it's going to be that big an issue. And there aren't many half-acre lots waterfront anyway, so that would kind of make it useless to even have it. I think we can deal with any problems that come up. Again, I agree. Your scenarios are theoretically possible.
The idea of having to have it a certain distance from the neighboring property, 50 feet?
We don't have existing codes that would, I mean, you have to have a building permit. You can't just go put a boat ramp in. You got to have a wetland permit, I guess, and all this other stuff. I'm assuming, don't we have some existing rules that cover something like that? And I really don't think there's a rush of people wanting to build boat ramps. Mine was more thinking of dock. You want to build a dock, people fishing on it. You know.
I don't know. I mean,
I do think that all the concerns you mentioned could be possibly addressed through other means.
Well, I just know how much problem the parishes have with the Barwicks, I guess, up there with.
That's a public boat ramp, though.
No, I know, but this could become something similar to that, and I mean, I hope it doesn't. I understand that, I understand the intent of what you're trying to do, although, given our proximity to Tallahassee, I can see that rather than build a vacation home, once people are allowed to do this, the incentive is going to be to spend the least amount of money and do the boat ramp or the dock or whatever. And
well, some of the ideas you discussed, I think, can already happen. Like if someone already owns a lot, they can already camp on it for the weekend, come down and launch a canoe without having to put any kind of structures in. I think the main idea is just to be able to put in a dock so people, I don't know. But I've not ever had anyone really complain about people camping on the riverside.
Let me suggest this, and this I think would be fine for what I'd like to do. If the boat ramp make it contiguous, okay? Because that's probably a lot of the scenario. You got 2 lots, you want to put a house, you want to put a boat ramp, but leave the docks alone, and that just any vacant parcel, if you want to put a dock, that's fine. I agree with your concerns about the boat ramp, and I think the same issue could be if you have a house and you build a boat ramp, you can still turn it party central. But would that relieve your concerns?
I would feel better about that if the boat ramp had to be.
It meets the same standards as any other accessory use. In other words, would that cover it, Heather? The wording like that?
We could move boat ramps out of the marine section and up to the regular section.
But that would still allow someone with a vacant lot next to their home, if they did unity of title, to put a boat ramp in on that lot. Okay, that thing address your concerns.
Mr. Stewart, would you take the second of Finley?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any,
We can't compromise.
any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to awards and presentations this evening, we will start with Bruce Ashley, making an announcement from the Wakulla County Sheriff's Department.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for allowing me to slide into the agenda this way, Commissioners. On behalf of Sheriff Donnie Crum, I wanted to come and publicly announce that the men and women of the Wakulla County Sheriff's Office have already initiated, at Sheriff Crum's direction, an enforcement of the ordinances in the county, 23.006 and 5.007, as related to alcohol use and possession in our county parks and at our public beaches. We've already begun that enforcement activity and wanted to come down and publicly let everybody know we want our parks to stay safe, litter-free, free from glass bottles, things of that nature. So our law enforcement personnel, our men and women at the Sheriff's Office, will be actively enforcing the county's ordinances beginning this weekend as well, with the regatta and the upcoming festivals, the upcoming activities at our beaches this summer. And we want everybody to have a safe environment and a safe time. We welcome them to come, but we will be enforcing those ordinances at our parks and public beaches.
Thank you. Announcement of Wakulla County Coalition for Youth Town Hall meeting on April 3rd. Ms. Stacy Harvey.
Good evening, Commissioners. I thank you for giving me a couple minutes just to announce to you, to remind you that tomorrow evening we are having at the War Eagle Cafe at the high school a town hall meeting themed Getting to Outcomes. It's in reference to teen or youth alcohol use and abuse prevention. We are starting a reception at 5:30 until 6 with hors d'oeuvres prepared by our high school culinary class. At 6 o'clock, the actual meeting begins. Some of our speakers will include law enforcement, service providers, and students. The discussion is going to range from availability of alcohol in the community to our youth, to messages received in the media and from peers and from the community, to policies and enforcement. I hope that everybody can attend. And I know y'all got some notices maybe last week about it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Announcement regarding the 2012 Wild About Wakulla Week. Cynthia Paulson, Wild About Wakulla Week Consortium, and everyone else coming with you.
Cynthia, Mark, I'd like him to come up afterwards to make his the description and request.
Okay. All right. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Cynthia Paulson, and I'm wild about Wakulla. And we're here to announce to you the 2012 Wild About Wakulla Week, which this year starts out with the Sopchoppy Worm Grunting Festival on Saturday, April the 14th. There'll be over 80 vendors, live music, contests, games, and of course worm grunting. And then through the week we'll be having guided tours led by certified green guides throughout all over the county. And during the week we'll also be having our community showcase days, where each of our unique communities will be highlighted during the week, and they'll have open houses and special presentations, such as there will be a show opening, a photography show opening at the Wakulla Welcome Center with a reception for Lou and Betsy Kellenberger. Will be showing their works from 4 to 6 o'clock on Sunday, April the 14th. Their show will run through May. And then the Friday, April 20th, will be the start of the Wakulla Wildlife Festival at Wakulla Springs State Park, with art on the terrace that evening, live music, and complimentary hors d'oeuvres, and plenty of local artisans out on the terrace there. And then the next day, on the 21st, all day Saturday, the Wildlife Festival continues with living history demonstrations, live music, wildlife shows, and premium guided tours. And then we wrap up the week on the 22nd with a special historic program called Conquistadors in the Fabled Land of the Appalachee, which will be held around the fort in St. Mark's. So all of these activities and more can be found on www.wildaboutwakulla.com with links to the various entities to get more information. And I just want to invite you all and everyone here to come out and participate in all the activities that we're going to have going. There's a whole lot of things for everybody, and I'm just wild about Wakulla, and he's wild about Wakulla too.
I represent the town of St. Mark's as far as Wild About Wakulla is concerned. I'm James Hodges, Wakulla County citizen. I represent the town of St. Marks, and what they have going on the 18th is it's going to start out at Shields Marina with free coffee and donuts to anybody that shows up. The Sweet Magnolia is going to have an open house. They're inviting everybody to come and tour the open house. Shell Island Fish Camp is having an open house. They're giving tours of their rooms that they have to offer. St. Marks Charters is giving $5 boat rides all day, giving a sampler tour of the town of St. Marks from the water, giving the history of the town. And then in the afternoon, they're going to be giving the Conquistador tour also. And in the evening, there's going to be a fish fry at the Yacht Club, grouper, not all you can eat, but all the fixings with fried grouper for $10 a plate. All the proceeds go to the Waterfronts, St. Mark's Waterfronts, which is a non-profit organization to promote St. Mark's. So it's all going back into the community to support and promote the community. And then after the fish fry, there is a guided lantern tour of the lighthouse. All of that, again, is at www.wildaboutwakulla.com, and I'm looking forward to seeing y'all there. Thank you.
I'm wild, generally, about Wakulla. My name is Madeline Carr. Thank you for having us here today. You've heard about the conquistadors. I just thought I'd throw in a little bit why we're doing conquistadors in the fabled land of the Appalachie. I hope all of us know that we live in that fabled land of the Appalachie, and that we are the one county that really needs to focus on what's happening next year in Florida, which is Viva Florida 500, the 500th anniversary of the discovery of Florida by Ponce de Leon. And a few years later, here they are, the conquistadors right here on our front doorstep. So we've put together a series of discussions with archaeologists and historians and a couple of boat rides called Conquistadors in the Fabled Land of the Appalachie, and it'll take place during Wild About Wakulla Week, and it'll continue on after that in conjunction with Visit Tallahassee.
Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be back here again. My name is Craig Reeder. I'm half of a musical group called Hot Tamale. I hate to tell you, it's my musical partner, Adrian Fogelin, was in a car accident. She broke her hip, but she's recovering very well. She can't be here today. We were going to perform the song for you live, which would have been a lot more fun. We can't do that. But anyway, I'm going to play it for you briefly. It's just 2 minutes and 24 seconds. I know your time is valuable.
I was going to make sure you get it where the microphone can pick it up.
The podium.
Podium mic.
Start dancing, Jerry.
On that old rocky river. Light outside the water. Down the Coastal Highway. It's straight up to Wakulla. She's wild, that's right. I'm wild about Wakulla. And we will be performing this live at the Weingarten Festival. We're gonna, if we have to roll Adrian up in a wheelchair, we will do it, but we'll be there. Tell your friends they can get in on iTunes, and but let me see if Mark Bowerman would like to add a few comments.
We need to get you to come back at our final budget hearing. Things up a little bit. All right.
My name's Mark Bowerman. I'm a teacher at Wakulla High School, and I've been very fortunate enough to work with several folks in this community that I think we're the go-to group for low budget, but they trust the students that I have to put some of these things together. We've done some work with the Sheriff's Department, and now this is going to be the next thing, and I guess I'm wild about Wakulla too. This is going to be fun. I think you'll all enjoy it. It's following the nature of the music. We went silly with it, and Craig suggested that we get a bunch of folks singing in different locations around the county. So we'll have some nice scenics of the county, but also some crazy folks singing along. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a good representative of the county.
Thank you.
Hang on, I think you had a request for us. Cynthia, Mark?
Not singing.
And Commissioner Moore had a question, I believe, also.
Oh, okay. I thought... Oh, okay.
I have a question. Do you work with the TDC on this, or is this yourself?
Green Guy Association.
Yeah, it's a community effort. We do have we got some money from the TDC for marketing purposes, but no, pretty much we're just we're on a wing and a prayer.
But the TDC does help you some.
Yes, yes, sir.
Could you come up to the mic, please? No worries.
Visit Tallahassee.
Excuse me. For promotion purposes, also coordinating with Visit Tallahassee. So it's a cooperative regional effort. Okay. But Palmetto Expeditions is the one that's leading it.
Wonderful.
The request, I know that you've got a lot of folks here that have some agenda items to take care of and some other business, but my request would be either here during this week at some point, if we could get each one of the commissioners to say they're wild about Wakulla. We could put it on tape. You could dance a little bit for us.
There you go, Jerry.
And the county administrator, I think.
Oh,
And the administrator, absolutely.
They actually
Anyone
wanted to
representing
film
the Sheriff's
tonight
Department
and
would be
get the
welcome as
audience
well.
and everybody, but he's not got his equipment, so I'm game.
Yeah.
Well, I actually have I never travel without the camera, so I do have it with me, but I know that you're busy, so if I can call down this week and make an arrangement to do that, that would be
Get me at the high school, Mark.
Okay. In or out of uniform?
Out.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Well, it is a short agenda this evening. I don't know how long it'll end up taking, but if you want to hang out, it's not a very long agenda, 13 items. So. All right. Commissioner Arts?
Okay, I've got an item I need to announce as well.
That was the announcement. It was the video.
Oh, the video camera.
request.
Okay.
Yeah.
County Administrator Edwards?
Wakulla County Housing Authority received from SHIP funding $549,000 for this year, of which $199,000 must be spent by June 30th. We've just been informed of this. The application workshop will be held regarding SHIP financial assistance on Thursday, April the 12th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the Wakulla County Board of Commissioners office right across the street, 29 Aaron Road, Crawfordville. Excuse me, right here, I'm sorry, in the chambers here. Any questions regarding SHIP application will be addressed at this workshop. Please note that there is currently no SHIP waiting list. Therefore, all interested persons will need to initially apply or reapply again. SHIP applications will be available beginning Thursday, April 5th
between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday through Friday in the Wakulla County Board of Commissioners. That's the office across the street, located at 3093 Crawfordville Highway, or online at www.mywakulla.com. Applications will not be accepted prior to Monday, May 7th, and applications are due no later than Friday, May 11th, from by 2 p.m. So
Is this for down payment assistance, home improvement, or both? I know SHIP.
this is both.
Both. And you typically, most of that money is for down payment assistance.
Well, but it's also for both of those. That's right. So, which is good news because we've been battling with that.
And you, just quickly, you said the deadline applies May 11th. And when do we have to have the money spent by?
The deadline is May 11th at 2 p.m.
And we have to have the money spent by June when?
By June 30. So we got a short string and tight. But this money just was extra monies that were left over from years that the legislature said, yeah, go ahead and spend.
It's got to be physically spent or encumbered?
It says here spent, but I'll get the answer to that question.
And for a low-income family, this can be up to how much money for a household?
$15,000.
Up to $15,000 per household to help weatherize and improve your house. So definitely check into it and help spread the word.
It's more than just weatherization.
That's right. It's also mortgage. It's mortgage and help you with your mortgage, etc. Down payment,
roofs.
Right.
There's a lot. You can do a lot more with SHIP than you can with
right.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Citizens to be heard. We'll come back to this at 6:30 or at the end of our meeting. If you are interested in speaking on any item, addressing any item this evening, please make sure you fill out a card with Ms. Jessica Welch over here to my right. Consent items.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Planning and zoning items. Item number 8, application for change of zoning by Wakulla County.
Yes, Commissioners.
But I think we have to do judicial.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
We're done. The next 3 items are all ex parte, are all quasi-judicial items, so we're going to have ex parte disclosures for any of them. If any of you have must disclose any contact you've received from any interested parties, their representatives, any lobbyists, any personal knowledge that you may be relying on. Commissioner Arts?
I have had no communication with citizens since the last time this came before us, and I've just talked briefly with staff.
If Mr. Boynton is on that list, I've talked to him, but not.
This is for the first item.
This is for purified bay.
Yeah, we can do them one item at a time. Sorry, I was confused. None on purified bay? None? Mr. Merritt?
No.
Okay, thank you. If there's anyone here who's going to provide any information or testify on this application, please stand up to be sworn. Let's do one at a time. In case people come in. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Given that this is the second public hearing, we've already went over all this, I'll go ahead and make the motion to conduct the, I need to read the whole thing, conduct the final public hearing and adopt the proposed ordinance.
Second. And include the report?
Include the staff report.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Moving on to item number 9, we'll start with County Attorney Encinosa swearing us in again. Checking.
Let's go first start to ex parte communications. This item is regarding to a proposed rezoning of Mr. Boynton's property. The application specifically is R1202. If any of you have had any discussions with any interested parties, such as Mr. Boynton or any of his representatives, or you have any personal knowledge that you're going to be relying on tonight, please disclose it for the record.
I spoke with staff and also with my appointee to the Planning Commission.
I've talked with Mr. Boynton several times when he was donating the land to the Heritage Center, but nothing in the area.
I've spoken with staff. I'm familiar with the area.
Nobody.
I spoke with Mr. Boynton, and I've spoken with the Historical Society.
Okay. If anyone is here to provide any information about this application, please stand up to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And just also as a reminder, I'll turn it back over to planning staff, but this is the first of 2 required public hearings, so although you will have a public hearing tonight, you will not take a final vote on this matter.
Yes, Commissioners, this is rezoning of 14.24 acres from Ag 2 and RR5 to RR2. It's located on the north side of Zion Hill Road. This request will change the density of the property from 1 unit per 5 acres to 1 unit per 2 acres. The applicant has submitted plans for 5 lots on this property ranging in size from 2 acres to 4.84 acres. Again, you're just considering the rezoning tonight. This area is subject to the requirements and standards of the Bloxham Special Area Plan. The Planning Commission reviewed this item on March 12th and unanimously voted to recommend approval of it. And staff is also recommending approval. This is the first of 2 public hearings.
Do we have a motion to hold the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Public hearing.
Yeah. Mr. Boynton, would you like to speak? You're the only card we have. Ben Boynton.
Ben Boynton. I'm the developer. If you have any questions, I'm prepared to answer them. Real quickly, though, what it is just changing the 5-unit subdivision that I had done a year ago that were 5-acre tracts. We are moving some of that land into the park, and we're taking and redoing a replatting that subdivision to 5 2-acre tracts instead of 5-acre tracts. And it's going to be consistent with the PUD and the preliminary plat that we're bringing in front of you, and approximately the PUD that will come in front of you will be next month on the entire project, but it's consistent with that subdivision.
Thank you. Any further discussion from the board? All right. Do we have to vote on the public hearing? I guess I should have before we.
Yeah, well, you have a motion and a second to hold the public hearing, so you might as well go ahead and close that out.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No further citizens? Thank you. Lastly, this evening, under planning and zoning, we have an application for change of zoning R12-01, Eddie Farmer, the owner. Heather will move us through.
As with the 2 previous ones, if you have received any contact from any interested parties or their representatives, lobbyists, or anyone concerning this application, or you have any personal investigation or knowledge that you're going to be relying on tonight in making your decision, please disclose it now for the record.
I spoke with staff. I also spoke with my appointee to the Planning Commission, and I visited the site.
I have none.
Spoken with staff, and I'm familiar with the site.
No. I spoke with the owner briefly prior to the meeting tonight.
Okay. If there is anyone here who will be providing information on this application, please stand up to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
Louis?
Commissioners, yes, this is for a 1.08 acre parcel to be rezoned from RR1 to RSU1. It's located at the southeast corner of Rocky Mountain Road and Dogwood Drive. Currently, the site contains 1 mobile home. The rezoning will allow the placement of a 2nd unit on the property. The Planning Commission reviewed this item on March 12th and voted 6-1 to recommend approval of the item. Staff is recommending approval of the item based on its location. There is RSU1 property across from a local street. There are also the higher density R1 zoning districts in the vicinity. So,
Make a motion to conduct the final public hearing and adopt the proposed ordinance amending the official zoning map.
Second. We have one citizen to be heard, Mr. Eddie Lee Farmer Jr. If you'd like to come to the podium and say anything.
I think he's just for questions.
Okay, if he doesn't, you don't have to speak if you don't want to. Okay. Any further discussion from the board? Commissioner Arts?
Yes, I have a question from our planning director. This is located within the core, the Crawfordville core, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
It is. Okay, and, well, I'll address my comments to y'all. I guess I'm thinking that as we move forward with the development of the Crawfordville Town Plan, we're going to want to phase out mobile homes. And increasing the density is not an issue for me if we were talking about site-built homes, but if we're going to be phasing out mobile homes, then I have concerns about putting a mobile home within the town core. Do you have anything more to say?
Well, the rezoning does not restrict it to mobile homes. You can put a standard site-built home on the property as well.
But that's not the plan, though, correct?
Well, that just based on what the owners indicated, we would like to put another mobile home, but we're just looking at the zoning, and it does allow the 2 units on it. So we see this as an increase in density in the urban Crawfordville core area. So we're recommending in favor of it.
It may be a change we might want to address with the comp plan for future, so that as we increase density, we have a protection in there. That's a concern. Yeah,
Well,
I think because of where I think it's more.
It's more the location and what our goals are for the Crawfordville Town Plan.
Okay. Hearing any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Passes 4-1. Thank you. General business this evening, we have a request for board approval to schedule and advertise a public hearing to consider an ordinance extending the county's existing 4 cents per gallon local option motor fuel tax. County Administrator David Edwards.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Chairman. On June 18, 2007, the board approved Ordinance 0723 adopting the 4 cents local option gas tax for every gallon of motor fuel. This tax is set to expire December 31, 2012. In the past, this tax has been used to fund the county's ongoing road maintenance and improvement program, including maintenance of 762 miles, 193 miles of graded roads, and 436 miles of paved roads. Currently, county receives in revenue about $440,000 from this road tax, which makes up about 20% of our road maintenance fund.
Motion made to approve the schedule and advertise a public hearing, consider an ordinance extend the county's existing 4 cent per gallon local option motor fuel tax.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
This is how we pay for our road department, guys.
Second.
Are there any citizens, Jessica? Discussion from our board?
Just want to make it clear that this is an extension of an existing tax. This is not a new tax.
Exactly.
The public understands that.
Pays for the road department.
This pays for the road department. If we don't have this, we don't maintain our roads.
If we don't have this, we don't have a road department.
That's right. That's right.
I would like to say, and I made this, and I mentioned to David that I was going to mention this, where our agendas for scheduling of our public hearings, I'd like to see those under consent agenda items in the future. And if a citizen or a board member would like to pull it, as I've stated over and over again, I am quite willing to pull things for the consent agenda item to discuss. But I know David had said he wanted to just give a little bit more information on it, so he just pulled it beforehand. But I would have rather seen it there and had it pulled. Okay. Thank you. And I appreciate that. Yeah. Any further discussion on Commissioner Arts?
Well, just as a comment to what you're saying, in general, for a while we were putting a whole lot of things on the consent agenda, and we'd have almost no general business items. I'm comfortable with having more things under general business and really minimizing the consent. But
I know for me, my preference is having things like this that are just a scheduling of a meeting that we're going to discuss. In my opinion, should definitely be under consent. But if we feel like we need to have a discussion about it, I welcome from any commissioner, any citizen, ask me, and I'll be glad to pull an item from consent agenda. But I tend to want to put things on the consent agenda for myself. I don't know where other commissioners fall. But if we would like to discuss that further, we might bring it back up.
And the other thing is the commissioner might have said they weren't going to support it, and then it has to come off the consent agenda.
Yeah.
You might as well do that in advance. chance.
Just for protocol. But no, thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 12 this evening is request board approval to proceed with new Wakulla County Sheriff's Annex and approval of Preble Ridge task order to perform engineering design. County Administrator David Edwards.
Yes, this agenda item, we had it on the agenda and pulled it at the last second last week. We renegotiated the price with Preble Ridge thanks to Commissioner Merritt, to perform the engineering design and permitting services related to the Wakulla County Sheriff's Annex. That new price is $13,550, and our overall budget is $350,000. Of this money, 41% of this budget, 41% will be funded via our impact fees for law enforcement impact fees, and the remainder is from our 1 cent sales tax. We've already set these funds to the side for that. Therefore, I'd like to request permission to move forward.
Motion to approve the Preble Ridge task order performing engineering design and permitting related to the site improvements, Wakulla County Sheriff's Annex.
Second.
Any further discussion? Any citizens?
I didn't chew them down or anything. I noticed that there was work in the task that I had personally done myself back when I had Cleve's job, which is permitting the Sheriff's Department lift station and clearing it out. In fact, DEP didn't even have it on their file. But I went to Cleve's office and we found the paperwork where it was actually completed. So they took that off their task order, and it reduced the price $6,000.
Right.
And I asked Cliff, why is it still so high? Most of it is the new stormwater regulations require you to look at the entire closed basin for stormwater. You can't just look at your project. They have to model the entire closed basin. So that's still a lot of money, but I think we're getting our money's worth now, at least.
Any further discussion?
I don't see Alan here.
He's sick.
Is he? Okay. I just encourage, as you move forward with this, to work with Dan Ard, with Talquin, to make sure that this is designed to be energy efficient. And, I have some concerns about the placement of the asphalt and so forth, and lack of trees, about how this building's going to be really hot. And in my discussion with staff, it looks like this is maybe more parking than is actually going to be needed. And if there's a way to reduce the parking, to try and do that.
I believe when I talked to Alan, it's going to be pervious parking, correct?
Portion of it will, yes.
I know the handicap has to be. And this does not include the design of the building itself.
Right.
This is just the site.
Right.
Okay, well, the placement of buildings, asphalt, all of that stuff is really critical to having lower air conditioning bills, so I just don't
want anybody to think that this was the whole, still got to come back and do the building.
No, I just hope that as he's doing the site plan, he consults with Dan Ard, and to make sure we aren't putting in excessive parking or excessive asphalt.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Commissioner agenda items. We have one this evening. Commissioner Stewart, did you want to discuss you wanted to discuss rainy day funds for all constitutional officers?
Yeah, this is something that was suggested that we do on our annual audit report, and we've been trying to figure out how to do it, and we've been through the meetings with the constitutional officers. This was suggested, and we talked about it, and everybody agreed that this would be a worthy idea to bring forward, much like we do with the Sheriff's Department. We could set aside, and what I'm suggesting that we do is the constitutionals, like any good government business nowadays, when they get to the end of the fiscal year, they try to spend up their money. I want to encourage them and give them an incentive to save that money, set it aside, be frugal throughout the course of the fiscal year, and then whatever money's left over, rather than just spending it at the end of the year to get rid of it, is to roll it over and put it into a rainy day fund for them, and set an account aside that whatever they end up saving it goes into that account, and it can carry over year to year, and then it has to be approved by us to be able to be expended, just like the sheriff's rainy day fund is. But we could use it for things like, if maintenance cost of air conditioning or facilities or whatever they may need, upgrades to whatever kind of systems they have. So just to consider doing that, I think it'd be a good incentive again to encourage them to save and for the long haul. And plus, it'll answer a question on the audit report, which we really need to try to do.
Motion.
That's my motion.
Second.
I don't think they necessarily spend it up. I know a lot of state agencies do that. Typically, like Donnie or Cheryl will present a check, and instead of them presenting a check back to the board, I guess with your idea, they would still be the citizens' money, the board's money. We could get it if we needed to, but if they had
and it'll help build up
with the sheriff's department.
Help build up our own reserve for their
Yes, and we can count it as cash.
It'll be on the books.
We'll be bringing this back to you if you approve to go forward tonight in a resolution. We'll put some parameters on that to address certain things, and that way everyone can agree to those parameters.
And I know colloquially we've called them rainy day funds, but there's a different name for the sheriffs. I would assume we would give it a similar name for each of these. Reserve.
Whatever we want to call it, and we may not want to do 100%. Maybe it's a percentage thereof.
But we'll come up with that. We'll work with the constitutional.
Constitutional do an approved budget. If they don't have any money in savings, basically, which is reserved, you try to get as much as you can in your budget.
Right.
You try to get a little more than you need, because Lord help you, if you go $5 over budget, you're still over budget.
Right.
And if you have money in the savings account, it'd be better to be a little over budget.
I agree.
You don't make better specs.
And all the times we've had to work on air conditioning, main thing, or any other kind of facilities upgrades, that's always an issue, and there's where a place to draw it from if we need it.
We have one citizen to be heard on this issue, Howard Kessler.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Howard Kessler, Panacea, Florida. I think in a good budgeting process, the use of contingency line item for handling the unexpected that may come into any budgetary year is good budgeting. And I think the idea of incentivizing the process is also good. It encourages savings. But the devil is in the details. And that's what is going to be coming back to us. So what I would ask you to do is to look at what other systems are already in place in other areas so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel and learn by our new mistakes. And I also want to emphasize that I think, for the most part, many of our constitutionals do not make a frenzied splurge at the end of the year to spend all the money that's in their budget, but return those monies to go into the general coffers of the Board of County Commissioners. But there's a bigger issue, and that is accountability. And as I was reading the memorandum that was enclosed, it was pointed out in this July 14th, 2011 memorandum that our auditor pointed out that there was a plan that was unrolled to him by the former county administrator in February of 2010 to reverse the deteriorating conditions, and was not implemented or followed up on, and was disappointed in this regard. And that's quoted from the memo. So my question is, who's held accountable and who is responsible for that not taking place over a period of time from February 2010 to July 14th, 2011? I think it's very important. I also ask each one of you to look at the memorandum with the 14 suggestions and see how many of those were actually implemented and how we're doing to achieve more accountability in the process. I personally feel that there is more of an oversight on knowing where your monies are and how it's being spent as far as where you are in the year. That didn't happen over a period of time. So I commend you for that, but I urge you to look at that memorandum and review it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think the closing comments that you made, we've been making pretty big progress over the last year towards fixing a lot of these problems and better accountability. And it's been moving forward in a good direction. I think our new county administrator has made some really nice progress.
Let me just clarify. I wasn't implying that any of the constitutional officers were wasting money at the end of the year. I was implying that they need to have a way to see the savings that they make by not just turning that money in and going into what they consider as a black hole. And I can see their point of view, much like what Randy said, is it would be nice if they can save money and know that it's going to be in a savings account that has their name on it that can be used for future things. Exactly, but would have to be approved by us. So that's the point I was trying to make. I just want to encourage that, and just as an incentive.
I think it's a good idea.
I had a question with David when I met with him today, and I had several questions on this. And I think when he brings back his proposal to us, we'll answer all of those, because there's several things I wanted to make sure was going to happen, and he satisfied me that those would be incorporated into the final.
Okay. Any further discussion from the board? Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
It passes unanimously. County Attorney, do you have any agenda items this evening? County Administrator, you have the item here and the additional item that was added late in the evening.
Yes, I'd like to request to add on to our workshop on April 12th, a workshop for Public Works budget, to go over their budget and based on the 5-year plan as it pertains to roads, water, and sewer collections, not the sewer plant. What I'm looking for is kind of unveil where we're at in the 5-year plan and ask for a little bit of guidance and bring you up to date and where we are. So I'd like to have that approval. We have a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Or any discussion?
We already got a workshop.
Yeah.
Let's just add on to that workshop.
So we don't need to start early.
What time is that workshop? I think it's saying 5 now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's 4.
Yeah, we're about an hour. It's all according to how long Cleve talks.
Yeah, I think we'll start time in the next 160.
Well, again, these, David, if one's over early, we can go straight on to the next one. I don't want to get in that situation where and we're going to have a workshop on something, so it might as well be on
The Children's Services Council.
Children's Services Council. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, excellent. Passes unanimously.
Thank you. What?
I'm just in your next item.
Yes, next item is an add-on that we added on at the last minute. This request board approval conduct an auction of county surplus property. Most of this property is made up of the properties, our assets that we had left over from our solid waste, the landfill and collections, as well as some other machinery that we need to go ahead and dispose of and or sell off, some old trucks, some old fire trucks, and take and hopefully collect this money, and then we'll come back before you with an agenda item to purchase some new vehicles as we prioritize based on how much money we've got.
And this item came late because of the deadline. There's an already scheduled larger auction that we're going to try and tie into to maximize.
Exactly. This will be the midway auction, and currently they charge us 5% of the for an auction fee of the price of each equipment.
Motion to approve items 1 and 3.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I have a question on what's the in-house auction mean?
Then, if Cleve, you want to speak to what those on the in-house collection? I think I know, but I just think that
Scrap metal prices, a lot of these old roll-offs probably worth scrap metal.
Yeah.
The only reason we're not running the when Waste Pro took over the solid waste program, we had lots of older solid waste equipment, and there's a very few companies that are even be interested in it. Marpan, Waste Pro, Jefferson County, who just helped us with the Amnesty Day, they are interested in it. So do it in-house. We'll get maybe a sealed bid based on the equipment, but Commissioner Merritt just brought up the fact that our equipment at the landfill is extremely old, and if it runs it through this bigger auction, more than likely it can be bought for junk metal. So we think we can get a better price by running an in-house solid waste surplus, inviting local solid waste companies that may be interested in the equipment.
This list we have here, that will go over to Midway?
Yes, much of that list, yes, sir.
So, okay, you think you can conduct the in-house auction before the Midway auction?
No, ma'am. We haven't set a date on the in-house one.
So you're holding back?
Yeah,
equipment?
we're just trying to get the declared surplus, and I'll work with the county administrator to formalize how we want to go out. Originally, Waste Pro is going to try to come in here and make us an offer on all of our surplus solid waste equipment, but to date, Waste Pro has not done that, so we're going to open it up to other organizations that have expressed interest in it.
I believe, has that baler been on? I think that was bought with recycling grant money, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
And it's been on long enough where we don't have to pay the state back?
I'll verify that, but yes, that's been there for years. And again, that's a piece that if you ran it through a general auction, if you got somebody to buy it, they'd lowball it for the scrap metal, whereas a company that's in the solid waste business would buy it to bale cardboard up that.
I think it was 03 or 04. I think bought. I don't know exactly.
Jefferson County and Marpan have expressed interest in the equipment, so we'll formulate how we're going to conduct that in-house bid. But mostly we're just asking you to clear this equipment surplus.
And that's something a lot like Ace Hardware has one just like it for baling cardboard. So that's is something somebody.
There are a lot of recycle trailers. Have you talked with Keep Wakulla County Beautiful about whether they have a need for any of those?
We have not.
Most of those were set up for cardboard boxes. I just happen to know they're a cage, and there's a small slot around the top. You crush a box and you put them in them, so they're not like they're pre-set up for individual bins or anything.
But I know we've been having a problem at the schools with some of those too.
I haven't heard any complaints like that from the school, and I think we've got it worked out between Waste Pro and the schools as far as handling the recyclables that are taken in, or the material that's recycled at the school system. Waste Pro is handling.
Okay.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Got one last thing. Is glad to announce Katie Taft sitting over there. She's taken over Jessica's duties as it pertains to agenda coordination, public records, and she'll be the face that you'll see up there. She'll be conducting our meetings in the future, and we're glad to have her. She's a professional, and we appreciate what she's doing for us.
She does favor Scott Gaby's daughter. So I said, I think I know you. It's just like Scott Gaby's daughter.
Anyway, welcome, Katie.
Excellent. All right. Before we move into discussion items, we're going to start Citizens to be Heard. First citizen to be heard this evening is Mr. W.D. Lansford.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm David Lansford from Panacea. I guess all of you are in your tax season now, and I went through some of my taxes, and I happened to notice that the property tax this year went up $150 compared to what it was the previous year. But we were told that there wasn't going to be any increase in millage rate, and I can't believe that property has increased in value like that. So I started looking around a few more things. Garbage fees. I didn't need them, didn't use them. prior to this time, and yet I had to pay $196 this year for it. So I'm using them now, but I don't have to. I've explained before how I did that. Fire tax went from $60 to $75, $15 increase. Okay. I've got a volunteer fire department about 2 blocks away from me. I don't see why I need an increase in $15 there. 7% service charge. Boy, oh boy, that's really something. Everybody is getting hit with that. Park fees. Well, Rock Landing Dock is about 2 blocks down the road from me. I used to fish out of there quite often. Now it's going to cost me $5 to go down there and launch my boat. Didn't cost me anything before. Now we got a half-cent sales tax to widen 319, and I use 319 maybe once a year when I go to Tallahassee. The rest of the time I try to bypass it. Now all of these items are to benefit the citizens, and I use that in quotation marks. But it costs me money every time you're doing some of these benefits, and I don't get any benefits out of them. So how about please stop trying to help me? It's costing me too much money. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Howard Kessler?
Hard act to follow. Well, I'm speaking in similar terms. Accountability, taxes and fees. Accountability again. When we spent down the reserves, who's held accountable? What's been done? As a government, fees and taxes were raised in 5 different areas in one fiscal year. That's a huge burden to place on the taxpayers. I hear it almost every day from our citizens. Some of them are on the edge of being able to pay their bills. Many of the citizens have been enduring very difficult times. The 7% utilities tax, I think, is a tax that I've asked you before. I hope you will consider having serious discussion of how to eliminate that. I'm just going to say that balancing your budget, which you did, you dug yourself, or you're digging yourself out of a financial hole that you created. But balancing a budget is not and shouldn't be a one-sided deal. The taxpayers should not bear all of the pain all of the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. James Parham?
Well, I'm not up here to fuss at you. I've got some good news for you. You may know that there's been a neighborhood group down along Surf Road that's been objecting to some of the things at the airport. Well, we had a little public vetting a couple of weeks ago, last week it was, and so, and some of the Tarpines, the advocates for the airport, were there, and folks, we ended up at the end of that, it all kind of came to a head in a most harmonious way. We ended up with a joint committee, and that I've asked Jessica to put up there. This is the last page of our minutes, and if you can scroll down, we are meeting with DOT on Wednesday of this week to find out more precisely just what it is that is required. And I've got some of these here, and like Mr. Martin, take to have one. Same thing's on the screen there. goal is to catch up with the airport in a compliant status, and with all funding for improvements to come from FDOT grants, requiring no funding from Wakulla County either for improvements or for year-to-year operations, with a stipulation that no federal funds be involved either directly or indirectly now or in the future. We feel like that is where we're most vulnerable for loss of our homes if the FAA standards kick in. With identification of the source of funds in the event that operations at the airport are insufficient for the airport to become self-sufficient. So where's the money going to come from if operations are not enough? With as little impact on property owners as practicable, accompanied by a set of Wakulla Airport operating standards mutually acceptable to the Tar Pine and Surf Road residents. And we want to work with the Wakulla County Airport Advisory Committee to implement an airport plan that is acceptable to the membership of our joint organization. We feel like the airport plan, as being advanced by the airport committee, has not been fully vetted, and this is our effort, joint effort with landowners along Surf Road and with property owners in Tar Pines and airplane enthusiasts to come together in a joint effort and to bring our suggestions to the airport committee. So that's what we've gotten accomplished, and we feel good about that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your effort. And our last citizen to be heard this evening is going to be Sheriff Crum.
Thank you. To be real quick, I live down on Masher Sands, and we have a beautiful bike trail down there now. And it's, I see a lot of people riding. It's not even close to near from our neighborhood. But also, there's some problems that I hope my neighbors are listening to me. They won't drive their golf carts or motorized vehicles on the bike path, because I've noticed a little bit of that. We also have another problem at Tie Creek Bridge, where some people come from our neighboring county down to fish. There's absolutely nowhere to park at that bridge, and so I've actually seen vehicles make a U-turn, driving up the bike trail, and try to find a place to park. So we've got to come up with some solution to stop them from making U-turns on the bike trail, or it's going to destroy the bike trail on the entrance.
Right.
And so I'm not sure what the problem is. I've stopped several of them, and so gradually, but when you're not there, they're going to use the bike trail. I seen one drive about 100 feet up the bike trail, and they just turning around.
We spoke with Kimley Horn on that issue, and we're working with them on taking care of that, or trying to get a resolution to that.
I hate to say it, but I don't think there's any way you can fish legally from that bridge, really, or safely, but there's nowhere to park your car. You got to park it on the side of the road or on the bike trail.
They're also fishing on the side too. We noticed that.
They walk down by the creek, and they cast net, but there's no place to park.
Right.
As the other areas that we've had other problems in other roads that there's no place for them to park, and thereby cause a traffic problem. But just hopefully my neighbors will stop driving on the bike trail. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes citizens to be heard. At this time, we'll go into the last section of our agenda, Commissioner discussion items. Do any commissioners have discussion items for the evening?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Stewart, no. Mr. Arts?
I'll pick another meeting.
Commissioner Moore? No. Mr. Merritt, I heard you have enthusiasm.
Oh, yeah. Did y'all get a chance to look over my wetland setback variance proposal?
I did.
And if there's no support, I'll drop it. If there is, I'll try to proceed.
You have my support.
Try not to waste anybody's time. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Oh, no worries.
If I don't get an answer, I'm going to break it up on the agenda.
No worries. At this time, I don't anticipate, as it was written, supporting it.
Okay? You had a problem with having the setback in the 35 feet? Okay. Like, if we don't support it, I'm not bringing it up. I'm not going to waste people's time.
Well, I want to see what you bring back. I mean, are you going to bring back what you
Yes.
had? In the same form you had it in?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys even approve of the concept. I don't think this 35 feet is touched by God. I mean, if you want to if you have no other recourse, and you can't build on your property unless you get in that 35 feet, I think you should be allowed to do it.
Well, and now, in my understanding, is we have several variances already granted through the 35 feet for different types of access that might be needed. Not like a house, but docks and things of that nature.
I didn't think it allows access to property, but it doesn't allow variances for houses then or anything like that.
Just no buildings. You can put in boardwalks, you can put in docks, things like that. I mean, obviously that's going to have to be in the 35 feet because it needs to
Well, if that doesn't get any support, would you support having the 40-foot variance be granted in-house instead of having to come to us?
I have no problem
And
with
I'll take what I can get.
I have no problem with the 40-foot variance
Going
in-house. But here's the problem I have with that, is that we set up the staff to take a beating unless we have some very clear guidelines about what they can approve and not approve. I don't want to put too much burden on them.
I agree.
I think that's where we run the risk, Randy. I have no problem with that, but it's got to be very specific, the guidelines of which they can approve that under. And if not, it needs to come to the board then for approval. I think there ought to be a simple methodology to be able to provide that variance in that 40-foot. And I can listen about the 35-foot. I think there's room for discussion about the 35-foot. I'm not sure that I want to do that, but I'll certainly discuss it.
Well, there's stuff in the code that setbacks from bodies of water that wouldn't change. They're still there. I know somebody had said something that you can build up next to the water. No, you can't do that. I'm not talking about the setback. I'm talking about the setback, and I'd even be willing to limit it to isolated wetlands. Not counting the marsh or the Wakulla River, but if you got a swamp in your backyard, it's an isolated wetland. You can't even apply for a variance to be closer to 35 feet. So
Why don't you just take the 40-foot out and allow...
I don't think that would ever pass. I want to get rid of the whole thing.
I think staff approval with strict guidelines. I don't. But that says an appeal if something is rejected. I don't see a problem.
I mean, that's better than nothing. So,
Mr. Arts?
I really hadn't thought a whole lot about it since the last meeting. I was under the impression some things were going to come to us.
Remember I said I was going to bring it up the next meeting under discussion items. And this is what I'm doing.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't
that's okay.
really. I know most of the people contacting me are, they think they're happy with the way things are and they see risk to making changes, and I indicated at the last meeting, this just doesn't seem like a high priority to me when we've got so many other really pressing issues. I'd hate to see staff spending time on something that I think is almost never a problem.
Well, I think it's a problem, but and I want to see 35-foot being able to grant a variance, but if you can't get it, then you can't get it. But at least make it easier to get inside that 40-foot. We have a variance procedure now, but it has to come before the board. This makes it a hassle for citizens who want to do something with their own property that they own and pay taxes.
I think the idea of the staff is a good idea. I think with Mike's stipulation.
But I'll try to come back with something along those lines. But we'll bring it up again about the 35-foot. Maybe I could make it more tenable to somebody. But if not, then fine. The other one was on the septic tank stuff. I talked to Heather about this today. Apparently, there's a bill on the governor's desk that if he signs it,
it's not yet been sent to the governor, but it did pass out of the legislature. And once it's sent, it does a few things. One is it would require you all to have a septic, because you have a first magnitude spring, to have a septic tank inspection program or to opt out of it by January 1 of next year by a 60% vote of the board. So that's one thing that if it's signed we're going to have to bring back with you. The second thing is in a provision of it where it talks about specific types of repairs and rehabilitations to existing septic tanks that because of being inspected may be found to be in need of repair because they're failing. what it says is that if you have an existing ordinance on the books that requires, in those instances, performance-based treatment systems to be put in, you can leave that in place. But going forward, after this is law, assuming it's signed by the governor, you would not be able to require people to convert to a performance-based treatment systems when their existing on-site septic system fails.
Yeah, I guess I misunderstood you. So it does not mean that if you have a new house, even if this law passes.
It's for existing.
Okay, well, here's along the lines I was going to proceed, judging by what I've heard you guys saying at past meetings. I just assume have no restrictions on modifications or repairs, even inside that zone. Because I know you, Alan, you had mentioned something along those lines.
But it doesn't sound like we'd be able to, from what you're saying.
Well, I mean, as it was last time we spoke with you all.
We can't opt out of the second part.
Last time we spoke with you all, the plan was to proceed with the comp plan amendment, which is proceeding, and that's going to be heard next week. The next planning commission meeting next week. Well, they'll consider the comp plan portion of the amendment on the performance-based treatment systems. Then the ordinance provisions that we briefly discussed and were outlined for you all were that if the repair was going to be more than 50% of the cost of a standard on-site septic system, that there would be a requirement to upgrade. And I think what this bill would do is take that out of the mix. You would not.
Fine, because that's what I just said. And I'd also like to look at. We'll go ahead and take what I can get on this one too. I had talked before about within that protection area, we're going to call it. I'd like to make the lot size 5 acres or greater. You don't have to have one.
I agree with you.
That's the ag zoning that would encourage people to leave their property ag and not convert it to a more dense area because they'd have to do one anyway. Just think about that. That's
and the $1,500 that we had on that, adjust that for.
It go away. No, we don't need to adjust
Okay,
it. It just
good.
goes away.
Very good.
You can repair it.
But I think your idea on the 5 acres and above is a very good way to go.
But there seems to be support for it. I don't know how you feel about it, but
and what is it right now? 10 acres and above?
20 is what's being proposed. But I'd like to see it switched to 5 in that zone. If y'all go along with it.
I'm definitely. I know that at our last conversation, I think we discussed 10.
Well, and again, the reason
and I've talked to people about 10. So because I'm not an expert on this, so I like to talk to people.
We're just
to make sure, but I don't have an immediate.
We're just talking.
I'm okay with 10. I will talk to people about the 5 acre to see what the
again. Let me give you the logic behind 5.
It's big enough.
Well, no, 5 acres. You can have an ag zoning and have a 5 acre lot. Okay. If you want anything smaller than 5 acres, you got to get it rezoned to whatever allows more density. So if you're going to be required to have a performance-based system, why not get 1 acre lots, you know, and if you got to have one on 10 anyway, or 5 anyway, why not do? But that would give an incentive to leave the density at 5 acres in this zone, which I think we're trying to encourage is less density in that area. That would just be another incentive to leave it at a minimum lot size of 5 acres. It would be required, but it'd be an incentive.
I think it's interesting. I don't have an immediate reaction. I was okay with 10. I'll do the research. I just like the research.
Well, on your performance base, basically, the numbers say that 87% of our nitrogen comes out of Tallahassee.
Out of this area north of Wakulla Springs.
No, it said out of Leon County.
Out of this area north of Wakulla Springs.
That could be considered, yes.
But you realize that as we move forward in time, that percentage is going to be shifting, because as they move forward with wastewater treatment, and also as they move forward with sewering in Woodville, their percentage contribution is going to decrease. And the more septic tanks we put in or don't upgrade, it's going to shift over time.
I understand that will decrease, but the 13% that we've got is
and it's going to be 50% in a decade or whatever.
I suspect, though, I agree with you somewhat, that when it shifts from being the T.P. Smith spray field, it's going to shift to the septic tanks south of the Cody Scarp, north of Wakulla Springs, which is mostly Leon County still. It's still South 61. It's still Woodville. It's,
Right.
Okay.
But they're also making, it's my understanding, they have plans to run sewer to Woodville. So they are going to, but, you know, as they'd never passed their ordinance, which would have done more. But if they're moving forward with sewering a lot of the lots that are currently on septic, then their percentage is going to keep going down. And the more septic tanks we put in, and we don't have plans to run sewer all over the county. So that percent, I mean, you can keep saying 87, but it's going to keep shifting, and ours is going to go up over time.
See if we could work with them if they're going to get a grant or whatever to sewer Woodville. I'd like to see us involve them.
We've had that conversation already with with Leon County.
And they're looking to find additional funding for that.
Right.
And we do have a wastewater treatment center. If we ever found a grant up over an Opportunity Park in the northeast part of the corner. It's not ours, but it's not, there is one that we can work with. Right. In the way that we don't. I guess that's right.
But they still have a spray field. But they're at least they're on the other side of the area of influence we're talking about.
Yeah. That could be expanded to cover some of the east.
Right. But so, if I'm understanding what you're saying, you the changes, you want to allow new homes on smaller lots and not require the upgrades even within the protection zone.
That's exactly right. The state's going to get rid of it. We wouldn't be allowed to require.
Well, even if they...
Unless we kept our ordinance and did the financing.
That's...
Your existing ordinance is grandfathered in.
Okay.
I mean, we could keep our existing ordinance and do the management entity so it becomes like a sewer utility.
I just wanted to be sure. It doesn't sound like I'm going to be wasting anybody's time, but that's, I guess, gives Louis a little bit more
guidance. And just because I had a citizen call me last week, when do we expect to see this come back at the next meeting?
I've had several people call me too, by the way, waiting to do something with a home or a home, waiting on this.
And I told when I spoke with the citizen, I told her it should be coming back very shortly.
The text amendment will be coming back on the next meeting.
Okay.
But explain to me, when the text amendment, when it's taken out of the comprehensive plan, but we don't yet have the ordinance in place, are people going to be, will that make the requirement go away? No. Talk.
What requirement?
To upgrade to performance-based.
Yeah, but the text amendment's going to come to you for transmittal.
Right.
And
so
then it goes up to the state, and then it comes back to you. And then you have to approve it, and then it's effective 31 days after it's been approved on the second one?
Yeah, it'll probably be
But
June,
then
July.
at that point, we lose any grandfather potential.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay. So I see what you're saying. Okay. Any further discussion from the board this evening? Any other topics of concern?
Wish you to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
And Mark's still here. I think he was.